Oh, hello. Welcome to 2025, everybody. Hi, hello, hello, welcome. What's up? Good God. It's bright in here. I'm sorry, I'm a little washed out. I'm still getting the new room set up, but I do have a little spot for Puck in the corner, which he is currently not participating in. But whatever. But we're gonna have Puck Cam set up soon. Welcome. Hello. So we got a lot to cover, but welcome to 2025. Which admittedly I knew was going to be a shit show. And it is like the first week of 2025, and a Cybertruck caught on fire in front of the Trump building. The Prime Minister of Canada is resigning as of today. He announced that. We've got the lightning striking a bunch of buildings that are important in America. And like, if this had been the Obama administration, people would be up in arms. Or if the president that was elected was gay, or a woman, or an atheist, or any of the above, people would have been freaking the fuck out. But yeah, I guess it's fine because it's Trump, I guess. I don't know. People are weird. I apologize if I sound. Let me know about how the audio is. I do have a new camera going right now, and I do have a new microphone going right now. I'm still futzing with getting it set up properly, so let me know if you notice any issues, and I'll see if I can get those fixed right away. It is going to be a little bit echoey in here because I do not yet have my soundproofing up, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm just glad that my voice is back for the most part. I'm almost all the way better, and tomorrow is going to be a nightmare. So join us for that. But as you can see, Elon Musk out here interfering in Canadian politics because he's a nightmare creature. Um, Personally, I would like to see Twitter banned in Canada. That'd be great. It's such a waste of space and time that, like, wiping it off the face of the internet would probably do everybody a little bit of good. Um, and my feelings about Trudeau resigning, for anybody who's followed me for a little while will know that I've kind of been hemming and hawing about what I thought about that. I think it'll be fine. I think in some cases, I think it's a good decision. In other cases, I think that it's maybe not the greatest decision. But so for anybody who doesn't know what that means, it means that there will not be an election called. So for the last year, like last year, the Conservative Party in Canada kept trying to force an election and a vote of no confidence in the Liberal Justin Trudeau and the current prime minister, and they failed every single time. So they were trying to call another one. We do have an election this year in the latter half of the year. So we'll see how that goes. But so because of his resigning, there won't be a call for an election. The Liberal Party will need to elect a new party leader because you don't vote for a prime minister in Canada. You vote for a party, and that party votes for their leader. So Trudeau was the leader of the Liberal Party. So when the Liberal Party won the election, that means he's the prime minister. That's how it works. That's the long and short of it. So they're going to have to hold an internal election, decide on who they want to be the new party leader, and then that person will then be the prime minister between point A and point B of the next election. But before that election happens, the investigation hopefully will be ongoing, and we'll see some stuff going with that because there's currently an election interference and foreign interference investigation going on. And I'm telling you all this because it matters, because it's specifically about this fucking guy. So this is Pierre Poilievre. Thank you so much, Alicia. Welcome to Iron Goblin. Greatly appreciated. Enjoy your Puck emotes. Pierre Poilievre is the current leader of the opposition, and the leader of the opposition is the leader of the opposing party in Canada with the most seats, which is the Conservative Party. Traditionally, it is generally the Conservative Party. There's been a couple of times where it hasn't been the Conservatives or the Liberals, but regardless, right now it is. He is the current leader. The reason why the Conservatives hold as much power as they do right now is because they formed a coalition. Two conservative parties coalesced into one party. Pierre Poilievre, for anybody who doesn't know, is very authoritarian. He does not like when any of the MPPs or anybody who's part of the Conservative Party disagrees with anything that he says, and he tends to shut that down. If you're curious about that, please feel free to look it up. It's not exactly... It's common knowledge in Canada, so it's not like I'm not speaking off the cuff here. It's pretty, like, standard information. I, might not surprise you, do not like Pierre Poilievre. I do not like that he is anti-abortion, anti-woman, pro-misinformation. I do not like that he is, he has bolstered, and these are not things that are like, these are, some of these things are being investigated still, but what I'm talking about are general facts. He has been canoodling with Russia and Israel. He is known for dealing with places like the Daily Wire and that big Russia Tim Pool thing that went on. The terrorists that were labeled terrorists, by the way, the Canadian convoy, which, for anybody who does remember, I was actually pretty sympathetic towards the Canadian convoy until they started, you know, terrorizing an entire city's populace. Then they kind of lost my support. They locked they were lighting buildings on fire, like apartment buildings, and blocking the exits. So there's been people arrested over that. There were bank accounts that were frozen, yeah, etc., 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 etc. Well, they were waving Pierre Poilievre flags, and Poilievre was delivering them donuts, and a good portion of them were funded by Russia. So, big problems. Big boy problems. So, I'm not a fan of the guy, and that's mostly why I'm not a fan. He's not good at answering questions. He's kind of a dick waffle. I don't agree with the majority of the policies that he is saying that he wants to put forward. He runs this whole campaign on axe the taxes, and like he wants to get like lower taxes. But then when Trudeau and the parties set forward this idea that they were going to cut a tax that was imposed by the Conservative Party, by the way, that they were going to like take a break from doing that tax for a little while. Poilievre and his constituents voted against taking that tax away. He's voted against affordable housing, so again, he's a propaganda machine. He basically says he's going to do one thing and then votes directly in the face of it. So, yeah, you know. I am not going to be nice to this guy. I don't think people, like, he deserves to be nice to. He's a douchebag. He's called people who are getting help for drug addiction, and where they get that help, drug dens. He's a fearmonger. It's just odd to me to be sitting in Canada and talking about how the leader of the opposition is an authoritarian. Like, I'm not a fan. I also hate Jordan Peterson. So this is like a three-way fuck bucket of things I hate all mixed into one. So for anybody who doesn't know, not too long ago, Jordan Peterson said he was leaving Canada and he didn't want to be a Canadian anymore and he was going to America, and everyone and their mother was like, okay, goodbye. We don't like you anyway. And it was a very memey time. However, I find it very interesting that Jordan Peterson, who is admittedly selling out his country, saying that he doesn't want to be part of his country anymore, is announcing who the next prime minister is going to be, and that prime minister is supportive of this turncoat. And, like, ultimately traitor. So, like, I don't know why he would think this looks good, but they did this interview, which we all know is not like an interview, right? Like, Jordan Peterson is not... Oh, yeah, and one of the reasons why he was leaving Canada is he didn't like that the board of psychologists in Canada have rules if you want to have a license to practice. And Jordan Peterson, who had not been practicing for a long time, was breaking those rules to have his license. So basically, if you have a driver's license, for example, you can have that license revoked if you don't follow the rules of the road and keep causing problems for everybody. That's what was happening to him. So he tried to appeal it, and he tried to take it to the higher courts in Canada, and he got laughed at. And he cried and ran to America and Russia. Canada's mean to me. So now he's interviewing who he thinks is going to be the Canadian Prime Minister. I'm sad to say that Poilievre does have a very good chance of being the next Prime Minister of Canada. With Justin Trudeau resigning, I think that's going to put a wrench in his plans. The same way Biden resigning to put a wrench in Trump's plans. Hopefully, whoever takes his place has a better showing than Kamala. And hopefully, like, it's early enough in the election cycle that it'll be fine for us. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. JP wants to use his credentials to bully people. Yes, correct. Canada's too authoritarian. I'm gonna go live with Trump. Basically, yes. Yes, accurate. So, welcome to 2025, where shit's gonna get... I'm in pain. So this interview is an hour and 40 minutes long. I don't think we're gonna get through all of it today. From what I've seen of what people have been talking about it, it seems like the first chunk of this is really just a fluff of nonsense. For anybody who doesn't know, Jordan Peterson basically got his notoriety from misrepresenting and lying to people about a Canadian bill called Bill C-16 that is basically about harassment laws and free speech. And he said it was an affront to free speech and people were going to be getting arrested and yada, yada, yada. That's never happened. It basically was, all it did was add gender identity to already pre-existing harassment laws and protections for people. So, nothing that he said ever came true. Jordan Peterson doesn't understand climate change. Jordan Peterson also took a trip to Russia for a long time and then came back really fucking weird, like extra weird. And he has a really bad habit of never saying anything ever, and people thinking that is the smartest thing that they've ever heard because people are fucking stupid. But, you know, whatever. So we're not gonna get through all of this today, but we're gonna listen to some of this. I do have pulled up some of the counter arguments that people have made that where Poilievre is just wrong. And he has to be fair, he also has like a really bad habit of being a fucking liar who lies. So he'll say something is going on in Canada and those numbers are just wrong. So like, for example, not too long ago, he was railing against the inflation rate in Canada, but the inflation rate in Canada is the lowest in the G7. And, like, it's been coming down. I've seen people bitching and moaning about Trudeau having 60 some odd billion dollars of debt to Canada. So, like, Canada being in debt, like our debt ceiling, our version of the debt ceiling. And it's like, okay, yes, that is debt that Trudeau has, but contextually, Trudeau, from getting the government from a conservative government, had to start it off with a debt of $128 billion and also had to deal with COVID. So I gotta say, maybe I'm not that concerned by that, but, you know, context and understanding what things mean and knowing that Poilievre has literally no plan except to sell everybody out to billionaires and vote against your best interest because that's what the Conservatives do and that's what they've been doing. They're the Canadian versions of the Tories, all right? All right, cool. Does that mean I'm a super duper Trudeau lover? No. Do I think him resigning is a good thing? Yeah, probably. It's probably a good idea. Do I think he might come back and run as Prime Minister again in the future? Maybe. His dad did it. I can see him doing it too. Whatever. There's no rule against him doing it. Maybe. Etc., etc., etc. Anyway, let's hit play on this and fucking cry. All right. Enough of my rambling. Oh, I hit play and it broke.
Investment of the United States divided by the total number of workers in America is 28 grand. In Canada, it's 15 grand. So you take the total business investment of the United States divided by the total number of workers in America is 28 grand. In Canada, it's 15 grand. The Canadian worker gets about 55 cents for every dollar of his American, and they're both measured in USD. In Vancouver, more money goes to bureaucrats than goes to the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers who build the place. And to add insult to injury, tradespeople who build homes can't afford to live in them. Why is it that we're still importing oil when we've got the world's third biggest supply? Why is it we can't export our natural gas?
Oh God, this is a bad start. Hey, Mr. Serious. All right, this is just the coming up. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I think that was perhaps the single stupidest thing I ever heard a politician say. Your federal government spent $6,000 of your family's money going over their budget.
They've squeezed the taxpayer out of every last dime, and they're still $62 billion short.
It's worse than that because I suspect
See what I tell you? That's $62 billion.
that the true picture is a lot more dismal than we know. Okay, so that's going to be dumped on you sometime in the next year.
They get the party, I get the hangover.
8 years from now, what does it look like?
This is some pseudo-intellectual performativism.
Hello, everybody. I had the opportunity and the privilege today to speak with Mr. Pierre Poilievre, who is the leader of Canada's Federal Conservative Party, but also, barring catastrophe and God willing, Canada's next Prime Minister. A transition in power in this country is likely to take place.
Why is Jordan Peterson like slowly turning into the Grinch? Are you seeing, like, he looks like a mixture? He looks like if you took Jim Carrey's Grinch and crossed him with the mayor from Whoville from that same movie. All right. God, he's so annoying.
Place sometime between March and October or November of 2025. And it appears very probable that Pierre Poilievre is the heir presumptive and will be the next Prime Minister of Canada. And
that is not untrue. Again, I will point out that Pierre Poilievre is not polling as good as he was prior, but he's still polling better than the other parties. I don't think he's polling better than the other parties combined, but I'd have to double check that number. But that's about to swing like crazy because of Trudeau stepping down, resigning.
And so I talked to Mr. Poilievre 2.5 years ago, which was quite shocking to me. I thought it had been more recently than that. And
oh God, they did this 2 years ago? Okay. I'm not doing it. I'm not going back and watching the other one.
And, a lot has transpired in the meantime. What did I talk about with Pierre? Well, I think mostly what I did was give Canadians and people on the international side a chance to see who this man is in an hour and a half of discussion and the extra.
You mean you signal boosted a fascist? An authoritarian fascist who does nothing but fearmonger the Canadian people. Good, great, thank you. I appreciate you, you piece of fucking shit. I don't hate very many people because I just don't waste my time, but I avoid Jordan Peterson because he makes me actually angry. He's such a piece of shit.
Half an hour on the Daily Wire side, you have enough time to get a sense of how someone responds spontaneously and emotionally and cognitively to complex and challenging questions in a manner that's not rehearsed. That's the huge advantage of the podcast format. We talked about all the stories that Mr. Poilievre has heard in his thousands of event interactions with Canadians in industrial settings, in manufacturing settings, in academic settings, so that he could inform himself about the true situation that's facing Canadians struggling to make ends meet.
Okay, so if that sounded confusing to you, that was a long-winded PR spun way to tell you that Pierre Poilievre has never actually worked a regular job. He is a career politician, so he's never actually been in any other field except for politics, and he was brought in by the prior conservative government, which was Stephen Harper, who did a lot of fucking damage to our country. Like I said, $128 billion of debt. This is disregarding the damage that he did to Canadian conservation areas. This is the disregard and the abysmal treatment of the First Nations people in Canada. This is disregarding the amount of corporate fuckboy shit that Harper did and is still currently doing. And it's the most laughably corrupt political bullshittery you'll see. And it's so obvious. It's not even pretending not to be. I do know that there are people who the generation before me, so I'm a millennial, so the boomers and the Gen Xers have fond memories of Harper. I don't know why. Harper was kind of a garbage piece of shit. In fact, he drove the country so poorly and so much into the ground, which again, he only had as much power as he did because he consolidated two different parties, that he not only did he lose his election the last year he was in, but the Conservative Party lost so badly that they didn't even get the opposition. That's how badly they fucking lost. So I guess it's been a long enough time that people are forgetting that happened.
Despite their best efforts now, which is a dismal reality in Canada with its excessive housing prices and diminishing economy. Most importantly, perhaps.
I mean, again, I would ask if housing crisis is such a problem, which it is, why is Poilievre and his constituents voting against things to solve that?
What is his vision of the future that both threatens and provides opportunity for Canadians? How is it possible for the citizens of this great country to dig themselves out of the malaise and pit that has been dug for them and by them over the last 9 years? And what could be done to remove the impediments such that this country could become the dynamic industrial powerhouse that it certainly could easily become? So join us for all that.
Jordan Peterson describes his vision of Canada like it's America. Why would Canada want to be an industrialized powerhouse in the way that he's describing it? Having dynamics, like a diverse portfolio, which I think Canada should have, and I think Canada is too reliant on our southern neighbors. No offense, Americans, but you guys are kind of a problem. But diversifying our portfolio, I think that's a good thing. I think most people would agree that that's a good thing. To be able to buy and sell with multiple countries rather than relying so heftily on our neighbors to the south. But first off, that is something Trudeau has already been doing and working on. For anybody who remembers, we had a good laugh at Poilievre when he was incessantly mocked and ran away like a little bitch boy when he was when he went to the First Nations meeting after he disrespected them greatly and proceeded to continue to do so. That Trudeau wasn't there. And Trudeau wasn't there because Trudeau was busy negotiating trade deals overseas. Again, Trudeau has problems. Canada has issues. These issues need to be resolved. Our housing market, for example, like they brought up, is abysmal right now. Poilievre is not going to help that because he's already not been helping that on purpose.
So, sir, it's been almost 2.5 years since we sat down to talk the time before. So I guess the first thing I'd like to know is, what have you been doing during that time? I'd like to hear about your day-to-day schedule and your week-to-week schedule. Like, lay out your job.
Basically,
Jordan Peterson just asked Pierre Poilievre, what is it you say you do here? He campaigns. He's been campaigning. He's been traveling around fucking jerking his dick and trying to freak out all the Canadians out there about talking about what a boogeyman Trudeau is, about shit he has no understanding of.
we have two parts to my professional life. It's very bifurcated. There's the Parliament Hill side, which is, early morning meeting with my leadership team, House Leader, Deputy Leader, Whip, etc., to plan out the day, the battle plan for our parliamentary committees, question period, etc. That is punctuated by one weekly caucus meeting and just the daily prosecution of the government, which is the quintessential role of an opposition leader. And then the other part to my life is touring. I asked my assistant today how many events we had done over the last year, and he said it was exactly 600.
600. He toured around and did 600. There are rules in Canada about campaigning, about when you're allowed to campaign. Calling them meetings and calling them, to pretend you're not campaigning. You have any idea how many YouTube ads I get of this motherfucker just yelling at me about axing taxes and building homes and shit? Shit that he votes against? It's obnoxious. It's annoying. It's borderline illegal. Good God. I really, really fucking hope that he's made not allowed to run due to foreign interference. His ties to Russia specifically, as well as his ties to India specifically, as well as the fact that this man refuses to sit for his clearance, his security clearance. Meaning that he's making these arguments about Canada and how Canada interacts with the world at large without any of the information. He's not allowed to have it because he refuses to do his security clearance. And his father-in-law already has a handful of fucking issues and ties to other countries. I wonder why he won't fucking sit for it. Canada's responsible for Justin Bieber. Actually, Usher is responsible for Justin Bieber, technically. And if you all remember correctly, a good handful of years ago, during a bet over the Olympics, Justin Bieber has been your responsibility for almost a decade plus now, because you guys lost the hockey gold medal. Actually, go look that up. If you're not familiar with it, it was very, very funny. You should go check it out.
A few weeks ago was 570 something. So we've done 600 events, and those are tours at mills, mines, factories, farms, high-tech facilities. And we tour in, see how the place operates. Then I give a short speech, do a question and answer, and then I just mull about and shake hands with the workers for.
So he's not in Parliament fighting for workers. He's schmoozing with workers, pretending he knows what he's doing, trying to buy them.
Or 25 minutes to an hour, and then I go on to the next stop and do it all over again. And we did that in 9 provinces and 2 territories this year. And so that's a summary of my workload and work plan to do my job.
And you said 600 events. You made allusion when we were driving over here that the weekends are particularly packed, that you'll do 10 events on Saturday or Sunday.
Right.
And so a typical event? What do you enjoy about the events? Why are they useful, and what do you learn?
Well, first of all, you get a practical.
I don't know what words to use to explain how problematic this is. Like, not only is this border, like, he is skirting a line here about whether or not this is allowed because he's ostensibly campaigning during not campaign years. Second off, this is a terrible precedent to set in Canada. We do not want and do not like the forever election cycle that America has. It's terrible. It's bad for America. It's obviously not good for America, so why would we want it here? Like, why would we want this? I don't know how to explain how, like, when you cannot expect the sitting prime minister to be doing what he is doing. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you can't, like, the sitting prime minister cannot be spending the majority of their time traveling, doing a speech, traveling, doing a speech, traveling, doing a speech, where it eats up more of his time than he needs to be spending running the fucking country. So I don't know how to, like, so if he gets to be prime minister, he's going to do what? Is he gonna keep running around doing, like, the Trump rally circuit? Because that's all he's doing. Especially when he's, again, telling these people one thing and then voting for something else. And relying on them being too stupid to notice. Which, apparently is working. Because he's basically just called everybody he just listed off, like factory workers, farmers, he just called them all fucking stupid.
Insight into how the country actually works. Mm-hmm. Like, who makes the widgets? How do those get made? How does our supply chain come together? What skill sets do these incredible workers have? What background qualified them to be a licensed welder or to run a CNC machine or...
What? He's traveling around the country being like, well, how did you become a welder? How could you be more out of touch?
Or to be the CEO of a 300-person company that supplies parts into the American economy. And
these are things he should know. He's trying to, this is a LARP. It's a LARP and it's an obvious LARP. Like, our schools are public schools, the majority of our schools, where there is curriculum that is province-based. Now, I think that needs to change, and I think that needs to be a federal thing, and there should be a federal mandate across the board for that. But right now, it is province-based, and it's not like he's sitting here being like, I went to a bunch of schools and talked to a bunch of teachers in this province, this province, this province, this province, and I'm trying to build something that is like, okay, here's the problems, here's what needs to be fixed, here's what we need to take from Alberta that works, and we should apply it to Ontario, and this was... Like, if he was doing something like that, at least that would be something. This is nothing. What do you need to be a welder? Google it, motherfucker! Why are you wasting my tax dollars? Because he uses our money to travel around and stay at his hotels and pay for his food and pay for his family. We pay for his mansion. We pay for his travel expenses. We pay for his groceries. We pay for the power in his fancy fucking house. And he has the biggest pension of any other politician currently sitting, as far as I'm aware. Double check me on that in case I'm incorrect, but from my understanding, he has the largest pension right now. And he's only ever been a politician. So you think he understands what it takes to go be a welder and work 12-hour days because he spent a weekend doing 6 rallies saying the same shit to these people over and over and over again? Who fucking believes... How do you look at this fucking snake oil piece of shit and think he's like, oh yeah, that's my guy. He understands what a welder does. Does he think welders are stupid? What the fuck?
And that practical insight, I think, is important if you want to lead a government and a national economy. So you learn a lot. Then I get to hear the stories of the people who work in these places and get their feedback on what they want, what their dreams and aspirations are.
Yeah, I want to turn to that in some detail. Let me ask you about the parliamentary side, too.
Why is Jordan Peterson looking at him like he said something fucking impressive? Guys, to know what people wanted, I'm ignoring their votes and voting and telling them I'm voting for something that I'm not voting for, that I actually vote against. But also, I'm gathering this information on my own on foot. You know, you could just look that, like, there are polls. He loves asking the workers for their stories until they sing an Oompa Loompa song and make him leave. I mean, because Jordan Peterson is Canadian. Oh, no. Oh, no. Jordan Peterson left Canada. He said Canada sucks and is authoritarian and he hates it and he's giving up on Canada and he's moved to California. Didn't you know? Didn't you hear? Hold on, let me show you. I'll show you. I have it. I have this. I saved it. I kept it. I had this. Let me go find my bookmarks here, because I was going to laugh at this anyway. I was going to have a giggle. 1 second, I gotta scroll through to find it. Here it is. Oh. Thanks to the authoritarian liberal thugs in our government, Canada has lost a national treasure. This is the lady who works for Russia, by the way. For anybody who didn't know, this is the Russia lady. The big Tim Pool blow up. That's her. She's the one. This is the Russia shill. Jordan Peterson has announced that he's officially moving to the States. This made me sad.
And welcome to moving to America formally.
I guess that's what happened, isn't it?
It is.
Uh-oh. Is this the big announcement?
I mean, why not? Might as well let the people know.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
There are decided advantages to being here. I like where I'm living a lot. It's close to you. We have lots of work to do. But the issue with the college of psychologists is very annoying, to say the least.
Guys, he got annoyed that there are rules to his license. He can't just shit on people all day and do whatever he wants.
And the new legislation that Liberals are attempting to push through, Bill C-63, I'd be living in a totalitarian hellhole if that legislation passes, and it could well pass. The tax situation is out of hand. The government in Canada
The tax situation? The tax that was put in by the Conservatives and was offered to be repealed or taken a break from for a couple of months, that the Liberal Party proposed to take a break from, that the Conservatives voted against. That tax, Jordan, you fucking loser.
The federal level is incompetent beyond belief. And it's become uncomfortable for me in my neighborhood in Toronto.
Oh, surprise, surprise. The Bill C 63 is again about harassment, and it's specifically directed at online harassment and content. So if you make content harassing people on the internet, they're putting regulations into law. These are regulations that kind of already exist, but they're making them more federal and like officially on the books, which is usually how rules and things work in Canada. So basically, he's bitching and moaning that he's not allowed to harass people online anymore. So he's, again, making a name for himself by lying about a Canadian harassment law and regulation and rule that's being proposed that prevents people like him from just being allowed to bully people. Go fucking figure. Piece of fucking garbage.
Yeah.
So, and you're here.
And it's sunny all the time.
And we have things to do.
And welcome to
God,
Moving to
he's so weird about this. By the way, if he's so confident about this next conservative leader who's going to fix all these problems, why would he run away? A matter of like not even a year before the next election. He thinks Poilievre's going to be the next leader. He thinks he's conservative and he's going to fix all these problems. Why would he leave, like... Let's see, when was this posted? Let me double check. December 12th? January 2nd? Let alone whenever this was filmed. Yeah, this was filmed Poilievre's big end of the year thing. He goes to fucking the Daily Wire. What the fuck? Why is a Canadian Parliament leader of the opposition going and hanging out on the fucking Daily Wire? If that alone did not disqualify this motherfucker from being a person to be taken seriously in any fucking regard, especially when it comes to policies, it's hanging out with the fucking PragerU group. Like, are you fucking kidding me? You've got it, like, my fucking god. Hi, welcome. I'm just shitting on Pierre Poilievre and Jordan Peterson because I hate them. They're like the culminative things of all the things I hate about people. They're like a little nest of fuck.
Too, because I think it'd be useful for people to know how you prepare for what you do in Parliament. It isn't obvious to me that people exactly understand the business of being in opposition, at a really practical level.
Right.
But he just told you that his business in Parliament is spending as little time in Parliament as possible and using Canadian tax dollars to fucking go on tours around the fucking country so he can lie to people.
What do you see as your major function? I know you're there to push back against the government and to question and criticize, but it isn't obvious how you go about preparing for that, or how you decide what issues you're going to focus on, and how you distribute the responsibilities among your caucus and your broader team.
So, there's a lot of discretion. You make up your mind when you wake up in the morning. You read the news. You see, I have a team that gives me a full briefing of all the published news from the mainstream media, all the news from the independent and ethnic media, all a download of the entire social media landscape, and then I respond to that by saying, well, I think these are we have roughly 25 questions we can ask, and I'll say, well, I want 10 on inflation, and 3 on violent crime, and 4 on whatever the subject happens to be in the day. And I want this committee to focus on this today and that committee to focus on that today. And then our teams go out and we do it. And I've been very blessed because my caucus is extremely talented and they don't need a lot of direction.
That explains so much. That is not how you're doing Parliament. You're doing government. You're not in a fucking Twitter war with Justin Trudeau, you fucking loser. thinks being the leader of the opposition is being a fucking internet troll. And being a contrarian. And just picking whatever topics he wakes up that morning and is just like, yeah, that's a good topic, with zero concern for how that affects the Canadian people, zero concern about how that affects the country, zero concern about what the actual issues are. He reads a fucking... Oh boy. He runs the opposition the way a flat earther tries to debate globe Earth. He doesn't come with a plan. He doesn't come with an idea of what he wants and how his stuff works. He shows up to try to poke holes in the way what the other people are doing. Guess what? We know that Justin Trudeau's fucking plans aren't perfect. We know that the country has issues and needs fixing. We understand these things. You trying to poke holes in it, we all know. If you're not coming up with a solution, why the fuck are you here? Why are you wasting our fucking goddamn money? All right, I need to get more tea. I'll be back in a second. Good God. Okay, so just to be clear, this fucking guy, just went on a spiel about how he spends his time going around meeting people and talking to like Canadian citizens and Canadian workers about what their stories are and what bothers them and what they want. Then, when asked about how he runs the opposition, he talks about how he goes on social media, looks at news articles, and then just bullshits about it that day, about whatever catches his fancy that day. So it's not like he's not going like, hey, I'm traveling around, talking to these people, finding out what bothers them, and then I take that, I set my team to research those things, to come up with solutions for those people, and then present that as the opposition leader to improve the country. No, he doesn't do any, like, completely separated from each other. It's not like he's doing one that informs the other one. They're not even related. Okay.
But we've been acting in unison, and I think that's why our message is pumping out so clearly to people. It's not a...
His messaging is in unison because he shits on anybody and tries to wreck their career if they disagree with him. If you don't know about this, go and look it up.
Cacophony of sound. It's a clear drumbeat. And that's why people are hearing and appreciating our message.
So you feel that your party's well organized at the moment?
Extremely well organized.
Okay, so what's your evidence for that?
Well,
like
by every measure, by every statistical measure, we're stronger than any political party has been in, well, maybe in my lifetime.
Define it. Oh my god, that was actually a decent question. Jordan, that was actually a decent question. You're saying that you're a good, strong party. By what metric? All of them. I have the best people, we're the best guys, you know, the best stuff, the best team. Fucking Christ.
Objectively speaking, memberships, fundraising, poll numbers.
Right, so people are positive in consequence of that. So it's a lot easier to lead an organization when it's successful.
That's
obviously,
right.
People are much more enthusiastic.
Yes.
Why do you think you're in that?
No, that's just marketing. Yeah, it sounds like a combination of Trump and Musk. Yeah, he does.
Position? What's going on that's setting the stage for that? And I don't just mean the failures on the Trudeau side. I mean, what do you think you guys are doing right?
Well, we have a clearer mission statement, and people know exactly why we're in this. You know, whenever someone asks me if they say, I'm thinking of running for parliament or for mayor or some other political position, what's your advice? Well, I said, well, before I get to the advice, I have a very simple question. Why do you want this job?
Mm-hmm.
And it might seem like a simplistic question, but it's actually the most important question in life. Why? Why are you doing what you're doing? And our answer to that is to bring back the Canadian promise that anyone who works hard gets a great paycheck and a pension that buys them good food and a nice home and a safe neighborhood. That
you're describing like a vague version of the American dream, not the Canadian one. Okay, so I'm noticing that people in the chat are noticing that he sounds like Trump. Go look at Trump in 2016 and look at what he was doing and what he was saying, and go and compare it to what Pierre Poilievre is doing now. Pierre Poilievre is running the exact same way, saying the exact same shit, pushing the exact same kind of agenda. People ought to be convinced by actions, not by what he is saying, because he is not being honest. He doesn't vote for things that he tells you he wants to put forward. We want to make groceries less expensive for Canadians. Okay, how? How are you going to do that? By voting against kids having lunches across the country. That's how. How is that going to make groceries go down in price? It's not. It's not going to do that. How the out-of-touch LARP. Yes. Sorry, I know you retracted that. I know what you meant. Yes. In today's age, shame on anyone who doesn't fact-check someone before voting for them. I know, right? Like, you can go and look and see what Poilievre has directly voted for and against. His own party fucking hates him. And the best thing that could probably happen for Canada overall, because it's not about it's about doing what's best for the country, right? So whether you like Pierre Trudeau, or sorry, that was his dad. Whether or not you like Justin Trudeau, and whether or not you like Pierre Poilievre, it's not about them as individuals, right? You don't vote for a cult of personality here. You can dislike Trudeau and still, like, vote for the Liberal Party because the party is what you're aligned with and those ideas. You're not voting for the individual in Canada. That's not how it works. So seeing people like Jordan Peterson and Pierre Poilievre trying to make this about identity politics and trying to make this about, like, you're voting for Justin Trudeau. You're not voting for Justin Trudeau, especially now that he's stepping down, right? You're voting for a party. If you are on a bus and you're deciding whether or not you want to get on the bus, does it matter if you like the bus driver? If the bus is going the direction you need the bus to be going in? No. You're gonna get on the fucking bus that's going in the direction you want it to be going in. You're not gonna get on the bus that's going the opposite direction because you like that bus driver better. Because it's not gonna get you where you want to go. Do you want less safety and healthcare for women? Do you want less education? Do you want children to not have food? Do you want more national debt? Do you want more taxes? Are those things that you want? No, they're not things that you want. Okay, then you ought not be voting for the Conservative Party in Canada, because those are the things that they are voting for. Those are the things that they're pushing, and those are the things that they're voting for or against, regardless, right? So if you want more education, you ought not be voting for the Conservative Party. If you want healthcare, because Poilievre is trying to push single-payer healthcare. Goodbye, Canadian healthcare system.
That anyone from anywhere can do anything and that people are in charge of their own lives. That's effectively what we want to deliver. So every day when I'm in Parliament...
So that's a very local vision in a sense, right? It doesn't have that the grandiosity of an international utopian vision, for example.
Well, maybe
it's very down to earth.
I think people are sick and tired of grandiosity. In fact, I think there's something grand about a family that can can go on a nice road trip and share stories and build lasting memories that the kids will remember when they're 85 years old.
Despite
I think that's
producing all that nasty carbon dioxide.
That's right. But I think those things are grand. And I think with the problem we've had in this country and in all of the countries that have been afflicted by this horrendous utopian wokeism is that it's been focused on the grandiosity of the leadership, of the egotistical personalities on top, and not the things that are grand and great about the common people.
Well, bitch, where? The people who have made Justin Trudeau a big deal has been the Conservative Party, not the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party stands with or without him. Jack Layton, for example, from the NDP. Define wokeism. You're gonna force wokeism politics into Canada now? What did I just say about identity politics? What did I just say about cult of personality politics? I have a question for anybody who supports Poilievre. Why? Where are you seeing what you think you're seeing? What have you looked into that he actually has done for the country? He's been a politician for like 26 years. What policy has he put forward, or what thing has he voted for that he and his group has successfully put forward that you agree with?
And that is another reason why I think we're doing very well. People are saying finally there's someone who's focused on letting me take back control of my own life and create a great future for my family.
But where? Where are you doing that? You're the leader of the opposition. The leader of the opposition can get things done. You can propose bills. You can vote for stuff. You can convince the other people in parliament to put forward something that you're doing. You don't just have to sit there and open up your Twitter feed that day and be like, oh, people are pissy about that. Better blame Justin Trudeau for it after I just mentioned how everybody else is making this about egos. Disgusting.
And so that is, to answer your question, one of the reasons why we've had such incredible success over the last 2 years.
No, the reason you've had massive success is because you're allowed and have been allowed to take money from India and Russia, allow foreign interference in your space to get you the amount of money that you are spending and the taxpayer dollars that you are wasting to run around and campaign when you're not supposed to be doing that. You're selling something to people, and you've been able to convince people because of how persistent you are when no other party has the opportunity to do that because you're not supposed to be doing it in the first place. Especially you should not be doing that when you're the prime minister because you ought to be fucking busy. If Pierre Poilievre was doing this while he was prime minister, I'd be like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Aren't you supposed to be like liaisoning? How the fuck is this guy going to make Canada a better business and a better, like, industry? By the way, governments and countries aren't businesses, but that's what he's proposing. He wants to make it industrialized, and he wants to sell more and turn Canada into an economic powerhouse. How are you going to do that when you are clearly in the pocket of Russia? You are clearly in the pocket of people like Elon Musk, and you are clearly in the pocket of India. And on top of that, you have this other fucking problem of you don't have access to classified information. So how are you possibly going to be able to, since you currently cannot, how can you even propose that you're going to be capable of negotiating successfully with these countries you know nothing about? And you know nothing about the safety of our fucking country. Oh, we call the MAGA Canadians. It's not MCGA. We call them Maple MAGA. Oh yeah, and of course here we have an ad.
Was the word. Christ is a master at using short, mysterious stories. They change the
mysterious stories.
Who takes them seriously. My experience with the biblical text is that they're inexhaustible sources of wisdom. If I find something in them that is an obstacle, it's because there's something in me that has yet to be transformed. I just don't get it.
Temu MAGA, yeah. They get called that here too, yeah. Temu MAGA is, yep. It's disappointing to see Canada following a similar arc to the United States. Yes, I agree. I think that Trudeau stepping down and resigning is going to shake things up a lot. So we'll see what happens. This year's going to be a shit show.
The person that you do not think could ever be virtuous. Whoa, let me show you. This is the person who is fulfilling the law and the prophets.
But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you as well.
I don't believe in that promise. I'll just be honest at this point. That has not been part of my experience.
This parable I've been trying to understand forever. While we were talking and while we were sitting there, then
remember when I said PragerU guys? That's the PragerU guy sitting on the side there, by the way.
it hit me. I saw it.
Name me one ideology that has supplanted Christianity.
See, there he is. That's Dennis Prager.
That has done good for humanity. This Jew is very frightened of a post-Christian society.
He was the God-man, the model, the example of what we ought to become and what we can become.
It's okay. It's safe for you and all of your doubts and apprehensions to open up and to let these stories in.
He is the temple. He is the Torah. He is the covenant. He is
prophecy fulfilled.
If you're doing this and it isn't also the love of wisdom, it's also an attempt at wisdom without love. In both ways, you're going radically wrong.
Power of love. It sounds so cliche when you
Well,
say
60s, eh? I don't want to be in a Hallmark card, I tell you.
Listen to all these old white men explain the Bible to you.
We've got our work cut out for us, gentlemen. This is one
Oh god, that stupid fucking suit.
peculiar time and one peculiar text, and I sure hope we're up to the task.
Oh god, so they did Exodus before and now they're doing the excuse me, the Gospels. Sorry, I vomited in my mouth a little bit. He's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy. Why is he dressed like Two-Face? Bro, he dresses like a Batman villain. Like, I don't understand. It's so obviously corrupted. It's so obviously not the intention of the humble teachings of Jesus. Like, as a Christian person, I am not a Christian, but as a Christian person looking at this shit, how do you not see false idols? How do you not see false prophets? How do you not see, like, the devil at work here? I don't understand. I do not understand how anybody who spends time praying and caring and loving, as is mostly taught in Christianity, looking at this and seeing how fucking hateful these people are. And how such a corruption of the text would obviously and should obviously be noted by any Christian as the work of the devil corrupting your texts. No, other people called Jesus that. Did Jesus say, I am the way and the truth? No, he did. No, he did say that. Hey, listen, sometimes acknowledging facts, still humble. You know what I mean?
Okay, so there's a lot of distrust, generally speaking, in relationship to, I would say, establishment organizations and political elites all across the West.
Poilievre is a political elite. All he has ever done is work in politics. His entire life is paid for by taxpayers. He has one of the largest pensions, if not the largest pension. He is set for life based off of your tax dollars even after he retires. This is a fucking joke.
A lot of that well-earned. Why should Canadians believe that the vision that you just laid out is something that you hold personally dear and not merely what would you say, a set of carefully calculated campaign slogans?
Well, I look back at everything I've done
Good question, Jordan. Do you think he's gonna answer you?
for my entire political career, to the time I was a teenager. You know, some people even dug up my old university essays, and I
See? His political career, even back when he was a teenager in high school, he's literally never done anything else.
been saying precisely the same thing the entire time. You know, when I was 20, I wrote.
I'm sorry, did you just tell me that you have thought and have been saying and have never changed a single idea in position you've ever held since you were fucking 16? So we're talking to a teenager. We're talking to somebody who has the political understanding and the life understanding of a teenager. That's what we're doing. And we're taking this seriously. PB is saying he was the guy in the group project who did nothing. I guess. Have a good day, Atheist Carpenter. We'll catch you later. Career politician, someone that has never earned an honest penny in his life. How can you possibly, in the year of our Lord 2025, how old was he? How old was he when he was, like, what year was it in 2000, when he was 16? Hold on, I have to look this up. I gotta Google. Hold on, I have to look it up. Pierre Poilievre. Let's just look at his Wikipedia page. I'm sure he's got Wikipedia. Here we go. 1970. He was born in 1979. So 1979 plus 16, right? I'm using a calculator because I don't trust myself. 1979. Because we want to find out what year it was when he was 16, right? So plus 16 years. Whoops. Plus 16. So he was 16 in 1995. It's 2025. And this man has never changed his mind between 1995 and 2025. Most teenagers would be green energy and not harassing trans people. Most teenagers now, probably. Most teenagers in 1995. It was the 90s. Things were different in the 90s. You can't seriously want this person as your fucking prime minister, right? Somebody who says they've never changed their mind about anything since they were 16? I agree. The kids around here have me waffling between hope for the future and facepalming and excusing them for being kids. That's how it should be. That's how all teenagers should be. All teenagers should be in this weird growing phase where you're just like, that's really great. Oh my god, that's fucking stupid. That's what teenagers are supposed to be. You're not supposed to have the same ideas as when you were 16, when you're fucking however old he is now. I ignored that. Wait, it's 2025 now, and he was born in 1979. This dude was born in the 70s. Milli Vanilli. Milli Vanilli told you to blame it on my rain. Poilievre is nothing but consistent. Unfortunately, that consistency is that of wallpaper paste. Oh my god. 45, thank you. Yeah. How do you... I thought I knew everything as a young adult, and I think a lot of us do, but how many of us look back and think that we were a genius in those days? But hopefully most of us should not believe that. Like, I don't think I was a bad kid, but I was definitely wrong about things. Like, I don't think I was that arrogant, but I was a little bit mature for my age. In regards to, like, my self-awareness was a little bit, like, different. But I was definitely wrong about things. I didn't handle things well. I did shitty things that I shouldn't have done to other kids who were also doing shitty things to other kids that they shouldn't have done. That's what being a teenager is about. It's a learning process. And one of the, the fact that this man wants to run the country, he's, with the ideas that he's had since he was 16, tells me he's an idealistic fucking moron with zero ability to self-reflect or learn anything. Because how could you possibly say this with a serious face? Compare to me now, or compare me to the average person. Yeah. I'm gonna keep going a little bit more, but good God.
Wrote an essay as Prime Minister, I would, and the title was Building Canada on Freedom. And the entire piece was about making the government small and maximizing personal freedom. So that's basically what I'm doing now.
He wrote an essay when he was 20 about what he would do if he was prime minister. And he's saying that it's now 25 years later and he wants to do the thing that he wrote when he was 20. And those things are maximizing freedom which I would like to point out, he is currently on a podcast of the Daily Wire, which is authoritarian fascists. He takes money from authoritarian fascists to build Canada on freedom. And he wants to make government smaller. By axing the tax, by building homes. You're not gonna do that with less government. You're going to have to use more government to do that. Privatizing healthcare is a bureaucratic nightmare. And he wants to, what did he say, maximize personal, whatever the fuck? Okay. Insane. Welcome to insanity. I've seen people recently, like I was having a conversation about this in my real life, like not online. And people were upset about, they were correlating the housing crisis with immigration. And I was like, you think that the reason there's a housing crisis in Canada is because there's too many people immigrating? When you say immigrant, what do you even mean at that point? Because not all people who are immigrating to Canada stay in Canada. People with immigration status in Canada are coming for education. Some of them stay, some of them don't. Some people are staying for work on short-term visas or long-term visas. They're not intending on staying in the country in the first place. So what's the problem? It's not them. They are not the problem. All that is just a misrepresentation and racist propaganda. And if you're stupid enough to fall for obvious racist propaganda, it might be because you might be a little bit racist. And somebody in the chat said I'm voting for the guy who's carrying out the most deportations. Deporting who, where? Like, you understand that if you're Canadian and you're pro-Trump, where the fuck do you think all of these refugees from an American militarized mass deportation are going to go? Because a lot of them are going to come to Canada. And what are we going to do about that? How are we going to deal with that? How many immigrants can afford to buy a house? Exactly. What are you thinking? You're not. You're being told what to think by an authoritarian fascist who's spending a lot of money to buy your attention. That's what's happening. Think for a fucking second. Read a book about what propaganda is. How about that? See if you can start recognizing it. Send everyone to the Canadian Shield. Canada's so big, we have so much space. Why don't we just build everywhere? No! That's not how it works! Good God, could you know any less about, like, the Canadian environment? Just, not even like, oh, I have to understand carbon. No, like, just the environment. Like, what is the Canadian Shield? Like, what the fuck?
You have consistency.
Well, there were
going
things,
for you.
when I launched my leadership race, I literally had the same language in my leadership launch speech that I had put in that essay 22 or 23 years earlier.
This is embarrassing. Why would you admit to that? Why would you admit to fucking parroting your 20-year-old self in your inaugural... What the fuck? Why are we voting for somebody with the mentality and understanding of a 20-year-old? That's fucking stupid. God, how much up your own ass do you have to be?
And when I was part of the Harper government, we basically fought for and did the same things then that I'm proposing to do now.
Drink for Harper. Harper, like, things being, like, brought back to Harper is basically not that unsimilar to be, like, drink for Reagan. It's the same fucking thing.
So as much as you can be assured
Peaked in high school. By the way, for anybody who cares, Poilievre is married to an immigrant. For people who are like, immigrants bad, Poilievre is married to a fucking immigrant, guys. He has immigrant family. So if your big problem with people in Canada is fucking racism, you should probably take an issue with this guy over here. On the other hand, the idea that, like, I'm still stuck on, like, the idea that immigrants are at fault for the housing crisis in Canada, because it's just like, how is that even remotely possible? Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Of anything any political leader says, I've got evidence to back it up.
Okay, so one of the things that's been very distressing to observe, I would say, and I'm going to use the UK as an example. I mean, the UK had 14 straight years of conservative government.
Yeah.
And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, thank God for that, because it could have been Labour. But having said that, they fell 100% prey to the blandishments of the net zero types and brought forward really a catastrophic energy policy. And the UK is suffering dreadfully for that. And their immigration policy, I mean, Keir Starmer apologized for it, which was something remarkable to behold, and so did Kemi Badenoch, who now runs the Conservatives in the UK. Now, the reason I'm bringing them up as an example,
this is Pierre Poilievre's wife. Just so if your issue is that you're racist and you don't like immigrants, I don't know if you should be voting for the person who's literally in bed with an immigrant. Maybe just don't be racist. Maybe just stop and don't be a piece of shit. And maybe, like, the way Canada has been built and its identity and the things that it's built off of have been about caring and empathy and taking care of your fellow man and building a better place for everyone together, which is why some of the most egregious fucking politicians in America that are against this kind of shit are successful in America and not in Canada. Like, I don't know, Ted Cruz. Like, I don't know, Jordan Peterson. These pundits. Propagandist machines. Maybe if your fucking YouTube channel that you're watching Russian propaganda on says Fox News wasn't Fox Newsy enough for me, like, I don't know, for example, the channel Redacted, maybe you should fucking look at anything you're actually listening to ever at any given fucking point in time and pay the fuck attention, you fucking ignorant slug.
Apologized for it, which was something remarkable to behold, and so did Kemi Badenoch, who now runs the Conservatives in the UK. Now, the reason I'm bringing them up as an example is because
the Conservatives in the UK that got their asses beat in the last election, right? Yeah, okay.
Well, they were a conservative government, and they certainly didn't govern by anything approximating conservative principles. And so how do you feel about the probability that if the Conservatives in Canada take power, that they'll be enticed into this global utopian delusion that seems to have enveloped so many leaders, kind of regardless of their political stripe? What do you think, if anything, can...
What the fuck is this global utopian delusion that he keeps bringing up? That people don't want to go to war, people want to live decent lives, and people think that people should be treated with equity and equality? What's so fucking, like, crazy about that goal? Again, we know that the policies that exist right now aren't perfect. And maybe Poilievre is decent and good at pointing out things that are problematic. So if he's like, the housing crisis exists. Yeah, thanks. We know. The government should do something about it. Yeah, great. It should. I'm an authoritarian. Everything is Trudeau's fault. I'm gonna axe the tax. What are you talking about? How? In what way? Equity isn't equality. Correct. Equity is not equality. That's why I used those terms separately and called them individual things. Imagine that. It's almost like context matters. The global utopian delusion of acknowledging climate change and doing nothing about it, not invading countries until they attack you, and not having witch trials for femboys and dick girls. I know, right? It's not that complicated. It's not complicated. Only if, John, only if you're talking about the same thing. So, like, if I say I want equity here and equality here, they're not antithesis to each other because we're talking about contextually two different things. So if I think that people should have education and that education should be equal across the board, and I think we need to use equity to provide that, it's not the antithesis. Right? So if I say that I want equality in that I want the government, federal government across Canada to have equal standards for education across the board. That's equality, right? Equal minimum standards across the board. If I then say people in this area and people in this area need different amounts of resources to be able to access that equal bar, that is equity. Because we are providing not the same thing to every person, we are providing what that person needs, right? At the rate and level that they need it to reach that equality bar. So no, it's not the antithesis. It's only the antithesis if you're talking about trying to do one particular thing, which we're not obviously talking about.
Inoculate you or has inoculated you against that.
I know better.
Well, elaborate. What do you mean?
I'm not going to do that. And it will be hard because the temptation will be, this is the mistake that conservative parties around the world have made countless times. They think, well, anybody who's got a conservative mindset is already voting for me, so I can go off and chase the ideas of my political opponents, and then everyone will love me because I'll have the conservatives due to the fact that I have the name conservative.
That is literally not what we've been seeing in recent history. In recent history, we've actually been seeing, particularly in America, the right getting more and more extreme and the left catering to that. Even just look at the last election. That is literally what just happened. The reason why the conservatives are losing is not because they're catering to leftist ideology. That is literally not happened. It's because, particularly in the UK and the Tories, the right wing and the right wing extremists and the right wing going more and more and more and more extreme have been fucking everybody over and lining their own pockets and behaving like fucking fascist dictators. And people don't like that. And so they're getting fucking ousted. It's taking time for them to get there, but they are doing that. That's what happened to the Tories. That's what happened to the Harper government 7 years ago. It wasn't because Harper was being too left-leaning. You're not being too aggressive, you fucking numpty. You're actually fucking insane. That is absolutely not the fucking case.
Are just being overtaken by drugs and gangsterism, so I can go off and...
I'm sorry, did I just hear the word gangsterism? Okay, well, I mean, We're gonna stop at gangsterism. We've been live for an hour and a half. I'll come back to this and watch a little bit more in the future, but I think that, like, I know that a lot of people who've talked about this have talked about, like, the latter half where Poilievre is just, apparently, I haven't seen it yet, just been misrepresenting, like, facts about the way Canada works and, like, numbers and things like that. So we'll get to that, but I think we stop at, I have the mentality of a 16-year-old. Like, I feel like at that point you turn him off, right? Like, like, as soon as he says, I've never changed my mind about how the country should run since 1995, and when he was 16, I feel like we're done. You know what I mean? Like, why? Like, I don't think there's any value in analyzing anything else at that point. Because why would you ever want somebody who isn't able to learn and adapt to anything at all in however many years that is, 1995 to now, 20 years. That's more than 20 years. 30 years? 30 years. In what world? In what world would you ever want that? And if you want to explain to me why you think it's a good idea to vote for a 16-year-old in the body of a 45-year-old who's literally done nothing but politics his entire life, pretending and LARPing like he fucking stands you, by all means, please let me know. Hi, Bao. I'm good to see you. Thank you. Equality is giving everyone a bicycle. Equity is making sure everyone can ride the bicycle regardless of their physical condition. That's a really good way to put it. And you can do both. Believe it or not, you can do the equality thing and give everyone a bicycle, and then provide the equity to those who need it, and make adaptations to the bicycle to make it function for different people differently. Good point. Good bicycle analogy, guys. Don't get on the bus going the opposite direction just because you don't like a fucking bus driver. That's fucking dumb. Everybody's stupid. I'm leaving. Tomorrow is going to be a nightmare shit show. I gotta go make my dog some food. And I'm gonna be live playing Mert Mart later tonight. And I would like to introduce you all to the puck cam, potentially. We'll see if it works. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you guys next time, and we'll cover some more of this later on in the week. Thank you so much for joining me. I am also going to be live over on Debate Hub. Go and find me over there. We're going to be talking about voter ID on Thursday with Jordan from Reason to Doubt. So go follow on Debate Hub. It is DEB, the number 8, HUB. Debate Hub. Go find us over there. So if you do want to discuss this and you do want to have more debates about it, feel free to join us over there, because we'll definitely be also talking more political stuff at the end of the month during our new Z-type stuff and show thing. So thank you so much. And yeah, no, terrorists deserve to have their fucking bank accounts frozen. Have a good day, everybody. Don't be racist, and don't vote for fucking oligarchy-ass bullshit. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.